Wow, this is really good. Sir Captain, seriously, we should go see Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, come on. It's got like lasers and machine guns and all kinds of awesome stuff.
That sounds so cool.
It's got spaceships and adventures and space and awesomeness.
Whatever.
It's got a bad, foul mouth raccoon riding on a treant monster thing.
What?
Hi guys, I'm Dr. Professor.
And I'm Sir Captain.
And today we're going to be doing our nerdy review over the movie Guardians of the Galaxy. So we're going to start off with the first pro, and the first pro is Thanos. He's in the movie, he's not the main bad guy, but he is kind of a moving hand in the background of the darkness, but they do reveal him, they do show him, and he looks amazing. He's exactly what I wanted him to be. He looks menacing, he looks awesome, he looks powerful kind of thing, and I'm really excited to see him where he's going to be in the next few movies. He looks like he's going to be set up to be the villain or the main villain against the Avengers in the future upcoming movies, and we're really excited about that. They mentioned the Infinity Stones and everything like that to set up for the Gauntlet, and so we think that's great. We think they're heading in the right direction. It might be a little bit different than the comic books, but that's okay with us. They're getting their own kind of writer's creativity, their own license kind of thing, and they're just going with it. And we really like to see that. We really like to see Thanos. We think he's going to be great. He's going to be a challenging person against whether it's the Guardians or whether it's the Avengers or anyone within the Marvel universe. It's going to be a lot of fun to see him come in and try to take over and fight, and it's going to be great. We're really excited to see him in the movie, and he was really, really cool.
Absolutely. You know. So, the movie itself is like a story within a story. You have the side of Thanos, which he's linked to what's going to happen in the eventual new Avengers movies, and he's just like the puppeteer behind all the destruction that's happening in the Guardians of the Galaxy. With that said, it's hard to comprehend for the average audience person watching this movie if you're not really a fan of the comic books, because these movies are linked to the Avengers movies. But if I hadn't been a comic book nerd that I am, or I've done the research that I've done, I wouldn't have known that. A lot of the average families going to this, they might see it as just an average Marvel movie, but really, it's linked. Like there's so much behind it that leads up to what's going to happen in the new movies. It reveals one of the Infinity Stones for the Infinity Gauntlet, which Thanos will be wielding in the future Avengers movies, and it's just a very intricate part of what's going to happen in the background, especially since it revealed Thanos, which he himself and his story behind what's happening in Guardians of the Galaxy is a pro, but at the same time, in my opinion, the lack of communication to the average moviegoer, it just really wasn't there. I feel like they could have given that out more so people would understand what they're going into. That way, when they see the new Avengers movies, when they come out, they see Thanos and they're like, oh, hey, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, I think.
Right.
But really, they should go into it kind of knowing what's going on so they're not as confused. So it didn't take away from the entertainment value, but just it's a very small con. It's just for me and for Dr. Professor, they could have just integrated the storyline a little bit better, as it was two parallel storylines, one with Thanos and his master plan, and also what the Guardians of the Galaxy are actually doing within the movie.
Right, maybe like reveal it a little bit more, because people, again, that don't know the kind of storyline, it could have been way less obvious. They're like, okay, who the heck is Thanos? He doesn't matter,
Exactly.
kind of thing. When really it's like a huge, huge factor that's being played into the Marvel Universe.
Absolutely.
Our biggest pro for this movie is the actual character development. Now this is kind of weird because it's only focused on a couple characters, because I think they did a poor job with character development on a few, or character building on a few of them, but they did a great job with Star-Lord, played by Chris Pratt, and they also did a great job with Rocket, the raccoon, voiced by Bradley Cooper, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he did a great job. They had a lot of emotion in their characters, and it's really, really funny when the raccoon and Groot were some of the most captivating characters on screen, and they were both CGI. They weren't human, and so it's kind of weird to be, more connected to them, but that just means they did a great job. The voice acting was wonderful. I felt really connected to Rocket. I felt really connected to Star-Lord, and that was just absolutely wonderful. And this is coming from a series where most people don't know what it's about. I mean, you've got Iron Man, you've got Captain America. Everyone knows what they are going into the movie. Before this trailer was even out, I I didn't know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy. So I was really excited to learn about them. We're really hoping to see them in the future. We're hoping for a sequel. We're also hoping that at some point they could meet up with the Avengers, because I think that'd be a lot of fun to see how they would react together. Because we've got these kind of Guardian of the Galaxies who are kind of like all these roguish type characters, and they really built that up well. These weren't like the heroic type. They were necessarily criminals, but with moral fiber. And I thought that was really interesting. It was a different take on superheroes or just the Marvel Universe. I thought that was absolutely flawless. That was really good.
I agree. For me, this is the biggest con, and I don't even think this is really a detrimental con. It's just something that's associated to a lot of movies, and it doesn't really take away from the overall entertainment value of the movie and the storyline. But for me, I grew up in a comic book store kind of setting. In fact, I worked in one for a few years while I was in high school and a little bit while I was in college. And this series of Guardians of the Galaxy came out in 2008, like I revealed in my What You Need to Know About Guardians of the Galaxy video. And so I was around when that series came out. I heard of them and I knew what they were, but the comic book wasn't really that big. I wasn't very interested in it. However, I did know some information about certain characters like Gamora and Drax the Destroyer, for example. Those two characters are interesting in this movie, but not interesting in a good way. We'll start with Gamora. She's the least problem in these two. Right. She's the daughter of Thanos, and she's known as the most dangerous woman in the universe. So that alone is a very big title to live up to. And she did a fairly good job at the beginning of it, and I don't know if it's really the actress's fault. It may just been some, I shouldn't say writing flaws, just how they had the character react to certain situations was just not how she would have reacted in the comic books. She's almost kind of a biological weapon. She's found by Thanos, and he soups her up with all kinds of mechanical technology with inside of her body and some other biochemical stuff inside of her cells that makes her this super woman in a way. And so she's very deadly, but she starts out hardcore, and then she just slowly, there's just some inconsistencies with her character. She becomes very flat, but then she becomes cool, and then she becomes flat again. And it's just, you can't really tell what she's going to do in a situation. And it gets kind of lackadaisical. It's annoying in some sense. But that was just a minor thing because you have such other characters that were so cool. And they kind of overshadowed her, but just how cool they were, it didn't really bother me too much. Now, Drax the Destroyer is a bigger problem because he is such an important character in the Guardians of the Galaxy. He was once a human, like I said in my Guardians of the Galaxy video, and his wife and daughter died. And then he's resurrected by Thanos' father and grandfather into Drax the Destroyer, who is created to kill Thanos. In the movie, Thanos is not the person who killed his family. It was Ronan the Accuser. So he says, my whole reason for living is to kill Ronan, which I thought was kind of weird for me since I know the comic books. So if you're a fan of comic books and you know a little bit of that background story, it's going to bother you a little bit. But however, they tie it in at the end in a way, and you'll see when you see the movie, you'll understand it, and it makes more sense how he's moving on to a different character development. But he's a powerful character. He's created to kill some of the most powerful beings in the universe, and he has certain special abilities. But in the movie, he's very boring.
We already have Groot, who is basically like a physical fighter kind of thing. We have Rocket that uses machine guns and different kinds of things. And then they turned like a character that was supposed to have psychic abilities and psychic beams. Is that what
he shoots these energy photon cannons out of his hands. It's a really cool character in the comic books. But they strip all that away from him.
And then they just make him a big guy that basically punches stuff. And he doesn't have superhuman strength. He just looks like a normal guy with knives. And that was just kind of disappointing, already having these kind of brute strength kind of characters.
Exactly.
And then being like, well, this guy's really unique. Let's just strip that away and make him another brute force. It was just very kind of plain.
Right.
So
you see the character and you're like, oh, Drax, he's about to do work on these guys. Oh, yeah. And then he really just kind of gets thrown around. He just, like Dr. Professor said, he's really just a normal alien type guy who has a little bit of strength and some martial arts fighting skills, but other than that, he's just kind of there, and he's really just kind of awkward, and I didn't really care for it too much.
It's like they had Dave Bautista just put on makeup and then be Dave Bautista.
Exactly.
With some humor thrown in with him and like a big vocabulary, but literally he was not like anything like super special. It wasn't really eye-catching, if that makes sense. So.
And I know it seems like we're really focusing on this con more than anything else, like the pros and the other cons, But this one was just such a disappointment because he is such an interesting character in the
Right.
comic books. He, in certain versions of the comic books, he actually kills Thanos. He has the ability to detect when Thanos is nearby.
Right.
And that's some stuff that they left out that I feel they could have written that into the movie to make it more interesting for when they later, from what sources say, that they'll probably end up tying Guardians of the Galaxy in where they meet the actual Avengers and
Right.
meet Thanos when they get to some of the parts of the movie when Thanos actually becomes the main villain.
Maybe a little team up action going on,
Exactly.
which would be really, really cool.
So he's just very dry.
Yeah.
But all in all, it's an excellent movie.
Right.
It's, for me, in my opinion, I thought it was better than Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. That was probably my favorite movie of the year, but Guardians definitely beats that. Not by a ton,
Right.
but it definitely beats it, and I would highly recommend you go see this movie.
Right.
However, my only thing to say is, if you're a family and you have younger kids, maybe this is up to you. But there's some, because there are Guardians of the Galaxy, they're not really superheroes. They're kind of criminals who have like a moral bone in them. So they fight for the same cause to help benefit themselves. But because of that, they kind of have some inappropriate jokes and some very foul language. So if you were bringing a young
Right.
child into it, just be warned that that is there. But overall, it's an amazing movie. It's really great writing, some really good acting, amazing character development among some of the main characters. It's something you'll fall in love with, and it's
Right.
something that you'll appreciate
Yeah.
the art of it.
It was a lot of fun. It was good.
Right, and we give it a combined score of 8.5. So please go see this movie.
Right.
Enjoy it for what it is. It's really excellent, and remember, stay nerdy. What are you doing?
Nothing.
Are you recording?
No.